Welcome to World History Notes, my World History Notes, where I'm sharing with you things that I have learned and am learning about uh, the Cold War right now, in particular. And I wanted to today is some interesting stuff. That just kind of hit me some comparisons and some stuff that I really had a lot of fun with this. I hope that this will encourage you to study the Cold War and come to your own conclusions because you might not agree with me, but tell me if I've misstated a fact that you can find. And so this is really going to be interesting to Bible believing Christians today, just possibly, but other people might just go over their head, go right past them, but that's okay because I'm just hoping that you'll be interested in this stuff. Now, I want to talk about important to start with some important Soviet spies. They were called the Cambridge Five, the Cambridge spy ring. And I'm reading from an internet source. I'm not going to make any bones about that. And it was active. They passed information to the Soviet Union during World War II and was active from the 1930s through the 50s, early 50s anyway. None of them were ever prosecuted for spying. Um, it wasn't until much later that these people started to realize who these people were. Um, there was suddenly a guy named Donald McLean and a guy named Guy Burgess fled to the Soviet Union in 1951, and then suspicion fell on excuse me, another guy named Harold. Middle nickname is Kim Philby, and then he fled to Soviet Union in '63, and then there was confessions were gotten from a guy named Anthony Blunt and a guy named John Cairncross, and they were considered the last two. And it wasn't until 1979 that Blunt's um, perfidy, his treason was revealed, and in 1990, John for Cairncross. So after Cairncross was added, then they called it the Cambridge Five. It was the Cambridge Four. So they were recruited at the University of Cambridge in the 1930s. No one knows when they were exactly recruited, but they were convinced that Marxism, Leninism, Soviet communism, like a lot of idiots, they were convinced that that was some kind of a golden age, a golden system that was going to save mankind, the best political system. And they looked at it as the best defense against fascism. They all went into British government. They all passed a huge amount of information to the Soviet Union. So it was so much so that later reports revealed that the KGB thought some of it might have been false, but it really was demoralizing for the British establishment, for the British government. So other people have been accused of being members of the Cambridge spy ring, but that there's no proof. But there are some people that um, have been accused, like Michael Straight and Guy Liddell. So in any event, there's a lot of information. Harold Kim Philby is probably the most famous one. I believe this might have been the inspiration for the great novel that was converted into a TV series called Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy by John le Carre, not his real name, a fake name. If you like spy novels, you really want to get his novels because they're very good. I really enjoyed Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy. The Honorable Schoolboy is fantastic. I wish they had made a movie out of that. And I believe he also wrote The Spy Who Came In From the Cold, which is a movie that Richard Burton made famous, was in a long time ago. So back in the 1960s. So anyway, other people that were thought of as in the Cambridge spy ring were Baron Rothschild, um, and books have been written about him, and Andrew Gow and Wilford Basil Mann. These are other people. So um, definitely, they definitely think you'd really get a kick out of studying those guys. They did a lot of damage to the Western governments, British government in particular. Now, excuse me, really interesting. Now, this back to the Bible believing Christian part. Really interesting stuff here. I talked about things that went forward, like in the 46 and 47, about Operation Q things like that. But let's go back to the timeline that I was using right after World War II, after victory in Europe. On Sunday, June 24th, 1945, a victory parade was held in Moscow that might interest some Bible believing Christians and alert them to the end times to come. A victory parade was held in Moscow, led by Marshal Georgy Zhukov riding a white horse, the traditional mount of a conquering hero in Russia. 200 captured Nazi banners were ceremonially dragged through Red Square and thrown on the ground before Lenin's tomb. The biblical imagery is interesting. Revelation 6:2 says, "And I saw and behold a white horse, and he that sat on him had a bow, and a crown was given unto him, and he went forth conquering and to conquer." Many Roman Catholics believe that is the church, but if you look at the context, most of us Bible believing Christians see that as the beast of Revelation. So, as the beast of Revelation rides as a conqueror, it is noteworthy that Stalin himself did not ride in the parade. The beast of Revelation, excuse me, popularly called the Antichrist, will ride a white horse as a conqueror. Will it be a Russian? Many people believe it will be, as they did in the Cold War in America. We cannot know from our perspective. Japheth is considered the father of the tribes that eventually became Caucasian from the Caucasus Mountains in Russia. They were thought to have settled in what is southern Russia today. Genesis 10:2, when I discussed that, I talked about this. The sons of Japheth, Gomer and Magog and Madai, and Javan and Tubal, and Meshech and Teres. Revelation 20, verse 8, and shall go out to deceive the nations which are in the four corners of the earth, Gog and Magog, to gather them together to battle, the number of whom is as the sand of the sea. And many people referred to Magog as one of these. In fact, I think there's an 8th century Arab chronicle that calls the Great Wall of China the ramparts of Magog. But nevertheless, anyway, keep your eyes open as time goes by. So now we're going to talk about timeline events, talk about the Guzenko affair in Canada, things like that. We're going to get into communists all around the Western world, but we're also going to get into events in Soviet Russia, because not only was there a Cold War going on outside of Soviet Russia, there was a pretty hot war going on inside of Soviet Russia of crushing tyranny and totalitarianism. So we'll pick that up next time, and I'll keep studying and trying to learn new things about it. And I thank you for paying attention. I hope you'll let me know if you read anything interesting. Take care.